approval of the minutes from November 12th, 2025. Does anyone have any?
Second.
All in favor? Agenda item 4, case PC 1-14-26-01-9413 Evans Road, storage sense, retroactive approval for work that deviated from approved site plan. You can come up, introduce yourselves, and walk us through everything.
Mr. Chairman, I recuse myself if I take that, gentlemen. So I might. I'll sit here before that.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Mark Slavin, representing Evans Road, 9413 Evans Road, LLC. Well, we have in fact deviated, so I might as well put that on the, on the floor at this point. There's an old adage that I was told when I was coming up in the business, and one of my mentors said, never assume anything because you're going to make an ass out of yourself. So I can tell you that's what I've done. I represent the partnership, and it's my responsibility to get this cleared up. If I may digress for just a few minutes, and certainly cut me off if you feel it's appropriate. I'll try to make it brief because sometimes I'll get long-winded, so feel free to jump in. So, oh, you have it up there actually. What we originally, you approved originally about, it's been 2 or 3 years ago, is this entire site is storage. There were 7 non-climate buildings right here, and these 3 represent the climate buildings. So what happened was we built all of this right here as planned, and we held off on the 3rd phase right here. Well, it's the 3rd building, so to speak, the 2nd phase. This consists of 330 feet long by 60 feet, which was approved. That's the pad. So it was one solid climate building, as it shows up there. So in my infinite wisdom, we pulled the trigger on what we call the 2nd phase and decided that, well, the demand was a little better for the drive-ups as we were leasing up. So what we did is we just split the building so we could drive down the middle. So in fact, what we have is 120, this structure here is 120 feet by 20 feet, and this is the exact building mirrored. So there's 46 units now. There are 23 here and 23 here, and you just drive up. So we left this space, this area here that's left over for the future. So that's why we're here tonight. I deviated from the original plan because this was supposed to be one solid building. We've received all of our approvals. I think Ryan's here.
We're here.
I think we received all our approvals. We did go through all of the approval process. We got all that done, the engineering plans, the structural, electrical, everything's been, we didn't do any plumbing. The stormwater is already in place. That's been done. So that's kind of where we are, and I'm open for certainly for questions from the board. And again, I really do come hat in hand. I shouldn't have done this without the approval of the board, and I'm really just being as honest as I can. I didn't think it was a big deal because I thought, as a result of making the units smaller and not taking up the footprint that was originally designed, that the board wouldn't really even worry about it. It's pretty much my kind of where we are, if I may.
Is the full pad poured for phase 2/3?
No.
Or did you stop at the
No, sir.
120 foot put?
No, we didn't do anything else. We only poured the pad. The 2 pads that are 20 by 120, that's all we poured. We didn't go any further.
Okay.
Are these climate or not climate?
Those are non-climate.
And the original building was supposed to be climate?
Correct. It was supposed to be a larger structure.
Yeah.
And what happened was, we're leasing, obviously, and we did, as you can imagine, we did a very extensive, planning and research before we embarked on this. Our feasibility study, and I was a little off the mark on that, in that we're having a demand for drive-up. It's very attractive for people to drive in. For instance, your maintenance people, your landscape people want to, maybe, lawnmowers and that kind of stuff, and, people want to offload, and it's very attractive to them. The homeowners are typically the ones that want the climate controlled, and they go in through the doors. We call them personnel doors, and that's all it's controlled by, our HVAC systems and our humidity and so forth. But these are strictly just open, you just roll the door up.
And Ryan, you're good with all the permits and all the construction
Yeah,
side of
today
this?
he has submitted everything. If you look at my staff report, under recommendations, I've listed everything that we wanted him to submit, and he has submitted everything.
Okay, thank you.
Is the new building, is it the same materials, colors as the other buildings?
Yes, good question. Exactly the same, all up to snuff in terms of what's required by Worcester County. As a matter of fact, when we started the design, we caught an error. Worcester County requires it's about another 7 miles an hour. It was a good catch on our part. They came in at about 113, I think, is required. It was designed, and Worcester County is, I think, 120 miles an hour. So we had to beef up the purlins and some of the structure. A good question, and yes, I promise you, the buildings are exactly the same color because I painted them. Did it myself. You really couldn't even tell the difference, honestly, Board, because if you drove in there, you would just see all these buildings and it would all kind of blend together. They're very attractive, in my opinion. I'm a little biased because I built them all.
Was there any deviation with the landscaping or lighting?
None whatsoever, and good question. We're very proud of the landscape. We took it further than what you had originally asked us to do. We have landscaping, bushes. I've even replanted. We lost some. We have an irrigation system in, and it's really looking nice. I'm very proud of it. It's a good-looking site. I wish Mr. Chandler could speak, but he can't, but he will tell you how good it is. He can't.
Is the ground where it shows phase 2 and 3, is that paved now?
I'm sorry, go ahead, say
The
that.
ground where it shows phase 2 and phase 3, those words there, is that paved?
That's all stone. That's number stone, I forget. It's the gravel that's approved. I get confused with all the gravels that we've had to put down. That's the approved stone. There's nothing exposed, no dirt or anything. You can drive right over it. Matter of fact, right here, we park RVs, so they back in here. So we have some room here for them.
What's your plan for the rest of the pad? Do the same thing eventually?
Another good question, Mr. Purnell. What I'd like to do is finish it off,
Like this.
and I don't know. So I don't know what I want to do with that. So I got 15,000 square feet left over, supposedly, if you let me. I don't know what's going to happen as far as your decision tonight because I deviated, but I would like to finish that, and that's based on the demand. And in all candidness, we're a little behind right now. We're about 60% occupied, and I wanted to be at 65 by December. So we're a little behind right now, but we're pushing hard to get it occupied. We're getting there. It's just taking a little more time. The economy, things have slowed down a little bit. And as you know, housing is not on fire. And that's what's drives the demand for the stores, the housing. When people are buying, selling, they're exchanging, and then they're moving in 6 months, a year, having their home built, whatever the case is. That's how we really function.
I guess this is also for you guys. So if and when phase 2/3 commences, we would, as of today, be approving the alternate layout, and then he would come in front of us for the next phase, and we would approve
Yeah,
that. Is that how this would
so
work?
for today, so I believe phase 2 is just these 2 buildings, right?
Phase 2 is what we just did. That's what we consider
Right.
phase 2.
So
So I-
phase 3, he hasn't determined what
Yeah.
he wants to do yet, so he will need to come back.
come
Is that what you want me to do? Do you want me to come back to do the next phase? Because we don't know what we're gonna do?
Yeah, because at this point, what we'd be approving is basically this, so that
Right.
would be an addition to come back in front of us.
Right, I don't have a problem with that, that's fine. As I said, I come hand today, honestly, because I really assumed you didn't have a problem with that, so if I have to come back and then show you the second, what we call the third phase design, that's fine, I'll just do that.
Anyone else have
This is
any-
not really approval, is it? It's just our recommendation, correct?
Approval on the change.
It's approval on the change of, basically, we just want it on record that this is what is there now and approved. Because of different things approved, so now we need to approve this due to the deviation.
Yeah, I'm reading this memo that we just have from Emily.
The recommendation.
Yes, that's what my question is on. This more is in regard to what you've just heard. Are you okay with us recommending this change? There was some question in regard to flag, I think you called them flag lots.
No, that's.
Next, okay.
Good evening, Emily Morris, for the record, counsel to the planning department and you all. Sorry I'm not there tonight. So there's been a little bit of misnomer about the verbiage of what the planning commission does with site plans. And my review of the statutes or the code is that you issue recommendations to Ryan as the planning director to issue a zoning certificate to allow this property, this building to be existing. So in this context, it would be a recommendation for Ryan to approve it, basically. Whereas in a subdivision, you approve it, there's a separate statute that's separate from the site plan review. Can you all hear me?
Barely.
Got the gist of it,
Should I
yes.
not go louder?
What's the recommendation?
Basically, what you're asking is, there's different things you have to do. We can go over this next week potentially and talk a little bit more about what different standards are. But when it comes to site plan review, you are recommending that Ryan approve what is already been built in this context.
Did you all hear-
It's slightly different approval, like a different verbiage than what you guys usually use, because I think it's just people use approval is the same as a recommendation, which is relatively okay. I'm just trying to be more precise.
So if I understand you, we're not really approving, we're recommending approval to Ms. Hardesty, is that correct?
That is correct.
I think it might be just.
And I don't have a stance on whether or not you should approve it. I can just tell you legally what your obligations are to do, and what you can, and, what you can.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
So our motion would be that we would recommend that our planning director approve the zoning permit for these two
You
buildings.
give us a permit, we approve it.
Yes. is that correct?
Subject to the 5 conditions that are specified in the package that you got. 5 conditions, including submission and approval of the stamped engineer report, submission of a building permit application for 2 structures, payment of double building permit fees, payment of applicable impact fees, compliance with all town requirements prior to issuance of an updated certificate.
And those have all been met, right?
Yeah.
So those have all been met.
We
We handled all that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
subject to the 5
But
conditions.
what do you mention 2 and 6 coming back for phase 3?
At this point, I believe all we do is owe you a check. We haven't paid you.
Correct.
We do owe. Yeah,
Yes,
I was kind of waiting for tonight.
yes,
Yeah.
with the agreed upon amount.
We had that exact number, yes.
I think that's how it I'm gonna do my best, you all, I'm subject to amendments. I would move that we recommend to the planning director for the town of Berlin that she issue the proper zoning permit to the applicant, subject to the staff's recommendations that Mr. Cosby mentioned. That would be one, submission approval of the stamped engineer's report verifying that the two uncommitted structures are code compliant. 2, submission of a building permit application for the 2 structures. 3, payment of double building permit fees as permitted by the town code. Payment of all applicable impact fees. And 5, compliance with all town requirements prior to issuance of an updated certificate of occupancy.
I would add, and also that there's an understanding that next phase has to come back for site plan review.
Yeah, number 6.
Okay, and in addition to that for any future phases, you would have to come back here for further.
That's understood completely, 100%.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Good to go.
Thank you, thank you, I appreciate it very much. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, I'll have a check for you, right?
Let me, can I ask Emily a question? Sure. Can you hear me, Emily?
I can.
Are you telling us that we only make recommendations and our approval isn't the final word for Ms. Hardesty? Or can she if we approve something, can she then deny it, even though we've approved it?
Well, I think that she would be, it would be hard for her to overturn your recommendation. I think she needs to adopt your recommendations. It's just that's the verbiage in the town code, is you recommend to her, and then she implements the recommendations.
I've been here 30-some years, and that's never been the case. Now, I don't know, you're a lawyer, and lawyers always interpret things different ways, so I would like a second opinion on that.
Okay, well, we can talk about that. I'm gonna be in town next week, so we can have maybe a conversation just amongst us to discuss that.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to it.
All right. Next up, agenda item number 2, case PC-1-14-26-02, 33 Burley Street, re-subdivision / boundary line adjustment. You come up and introduce yourselves and walk us through it.
Good afternoon. My name's Frank Sheehan. Land surveyor here locally, and this is
Hi, I'm Allison Bezak, and my husband Todd Bezak is sitting in the back.
You guys can just go ahead and present us what you want to do, what's going on, just all the good stuff.
basically, I had started this process. I met with Ryan Hardesty and another lady at the zoning staff, and we discussed the fact that we have these 6 lots of record, 3 direct frontages on Burley Street and 3 directly behind them. Because Commodore Street used to be on the very back of the lots, and that was taken into, I think, Town Park. So that has ceased to exist. And we came up with a configuration for this reconfiguration to allow, because right now there's an existing driveway on the, I guess, the eastern side of lot 6A, and Ryan had recommended that we put the driveway that, I have the hash area where that's going to be a common driveway, the easement serving both lots. She recommended that we move it to the right side of the lot, because we didn't want the 2 driveways being so close together, concerned about visibility when people pulled out from the lot. And so that's why we came up with this final configuration.
So essentially, the 3 lots in the back are just inaccessible at this point because of Commodore Street.
Yeah, they don't have direct access on public street. It's correct. You have to access them through this easement that I have that I'm showing you. Plus, I mean, there's a strip of land coming back that's attached to them too.
What's that easement for, do you know?
That'll be for a shared driveway. It's
Sorry, the one on the far left.
The town of Berlin one.
Oh, that's the town easement, there's a ditch there. There's a drainage ditch there.
At the back of this is the Berlin Park, is that right?
That's correct.
I'm on the right side of it. I just want to be sure.
Will lot 6A be a buildable lot?
Yes,
So we'll have 3 buildable lots here.
correct.
The driveway would be shared by lot 6A and 18A.
And 18A, that's correct. And, you know, with the existing lot configuration, we could probably build there as they sit now without changing the property lines, but this gives better building envelopes for each of the lots. It makes them more code compliant.
Is, just based on the neighborhood setup, the other lots that are adjacent to these lots, do they each have a house on them, or in a lot of cases, is there one house on 2 lots? Or is it the case that most lots have one house?
Could you answer that, Allison?
I believe, and actually I have my neighbor here too, I believe there's one.
One lot, in a general sense, on Burley Street per house, not
Mhm.
2 lots?
If I may,
Yeah.
it depends on which lot you're looking at. Some lots do have double lots,
Yeah.
but they have one house.
Right.
So,
I just remember at one time.
I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I did see it like on the plat before.
That's what I kind of thought. There's some of them are double lots with one house.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't.
Yes.
I did a quick look too, maybe you know, it looks like there's one lot on Burley on the same side of the street as you, further east. It's not a flag lot, that kind of wraps around.
Yes. Yes.
I was just trying to look for any other precedents for similar conditions, and I'm not sure if you can see it from the street, so I can't tell, but there's a house back there, I don't know if you
Well, keep in
know.
mind, it's just not the fact that there would be a dwelling there. I mean, you could put other structures back there, you still have buildings back there, just wouldn't have.
Yeah, of course, it's just the character of the neighborhood type of question.
And I know it seems awkward probably, but we would like for this to be a familial place, you know, like this is, we would like for children, our own family to be able to live there on our lots.
As far as compatibility in the
family.
neighborhood, I mean, you can see where lot 18A is a very large
Yes.
lot, and it's not something small.
And when we were sold this piece of land, we were told at the time that we could build a house in the back there, and that driveway would drive you back, and we could also build one up front. That was the reason why we purchased it, so we could keep it in the family.
So it's currently 6 lots, correct? And we're gonna go from 6 lots to 3?
That's correct.
And all 6 technically are buildable?
That was already
Back in
platted,
the
that's already
day.
platted, 6 lots are
Yeah,
platted.
it's an older subdivision, as
Yeah.
most of San Berlin is. and-
But Mr. Lynch, how would the impact of them no longer fronting on a street impact the development of those 3 in the back? For example, you just made a statement that they're all buildable, you could probably build on them as they are. Did I understand you correctly?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the original lot lines, and you can see there's probably enough land that you can probably get structure in there. But as far as the best, highest use for the property is this reconfiguration that we're proposing, that's our opinion. And this is, you know, desires of the owners.
But if each one of those lots in the back don't front on the street, they're not buildable lots, right?
Probably couldn't have access, now, if you can't provide access, then you can't, you probably reject this.
Right, so there used to be a street in the back years ago.
Correct.
What happened to that? It just got soaked up.
It got abandoned and taken in and out of town. You can see somehow there was a deed where it was, part of the street back there was conveyed into this property,
Well,
like a 10-foot strip of it.
The problem with this situation here is you're creating a flag lot. Okay, and lot 6A obviously is buildable because it fronts on Burley Street. But the flag lot is a house behind other houses. That sets a precedent for Burley Street and all those big lots to do that.
Well, they could only do it if they had access to the road.
But you have, where's your access? Is this 20-foot easement?
Well, you look at the plat is showing that the strip was 30 feet wide, and it goes back. That's
That's the town, I thought the 30 feet wide is the town ditch, the easement's 20 foot.
Yeah, but it's land. It's land owned, it's going to be owned by Lot 10A. And then we're going to also then give them the the 20-foot wide actual easement where the driveway would be located. So effectively, the 50-foot strip of land is going to be controlled by the owner of Lot 10A.
Even the easement going down to Berlin?
Well, I mean, they own it. I mean, it's, it's subject to the town's easement.
But Lot 6A will have an easement to use that.
These are shared driveways, there'll be a maintenance, shared maintenance agreement between the two parties, if it's ever asked to be.
What impact does it have in regard to setback, side yard setback for 6A? Not at all.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you see we show the proposed setbacks on 6A and
The easement doesn't affect setbacks.
we've actually enlarged the lots to make them more conforming to town code
Okay.
than what the previously existed.
But it still remains the fact that Lot 18A and the only road frontage it has is,
That's 30 feet of easement.
The 30-foot strip of land that is affected by a town easement. They would own that 30 feet fee simple, and then they would have another 20-foot actual easement for the shared driveway to exist.
so you would have a total of 50 feet, you're saying?
Yes.
Does the, do we count under the code there, Miss Laura? Do we count under the code a 30-foot town easement for road frontage for a buildable lot?
First of all, I am not seeing on the tax, at least for the tax records, that there are any, that they've broken up into little individual lots as being suggested. This is the first time I'm hearing this. I'm trying to do research on the fly, but I'm not seeing the back lots as being separate lots, all one tax lot, that they're asking to basically reconfigure according to the records that I'm looking at.
If I could,
But the answer to your question is, if it's an easement, it is a flag lot, which is not a historic district, so it's not prohibited technically, but the planning commission has the authority to not approve it.
if I could respond to a comment regarding the assessment records. Assessment records are historically incorrect with regard to interior property lines. I mean, in this particular case, I approved I thought, it's my understanding, I approved to the staff that we still have 6 existing deed lots of record. They've never been combined by deed, they've never been combined by plat. They were combined by the assessment office, but they had no legal right to change property lines. Only,
So you're
board such as
saying,
yourself had
you're
that.
saying somewhere a plat exists of these lots here?
Oh, yeah.
A plat of record, a plat of record.
My subdivision plat references that recorded plat, yeah. I mean, today, I'm working on a property that assessment records show it as a 5-acre piece of one property, but it's actually 3 lots.
You understand what he's saying, Ms. Lawyer?
I understand that when I hear what he's saying, I'm not seeing it in the records, and I hadn't heard this until just now, so we have to do some more research. I would recommend that you should not act until we get confirmation that those are different lots.
Well, he references the plat, on his plat, he references the plat that shows this already subdivided.
Well, I'm not seeing it when I'm looking at this, and I'm concerned that just from a legal standpoint, if you approve, and then this also, to be clear, this should be treated as a preliminary subdivision hearing, not a final subdivision hearing, because the code requires 2 steps, 2 hearings, and we are, there are a lot of people who would like to just come in and say, you guys approve the subdivision without going through the whole process. And so you're basically going to be agreeing that all moving forward, that there's a reason that you will waive it, the 2-step process. But I don't see that. I can look at it while we talk, but I'm not seeing it. It's one record lot of the subdivision that's recorded with the state at least. You could have had another subdivision internally that just created sublots that I'm not seeing.
And here, Ken, I could interject. I've already been through this particular issue with the zoning staff early on, before I even put pencil to paper, because they had concerns that these lots didn't exist. And I said, well, certainly they exist. The deeds, they own it. you look in their deeds, it says they own lot 5, they own lot 6, they own lot such and such and such and such. Well, there's been no changes in the configuration of that subdivision. State Assessment Office has no legal authority, and we have attorneys here on the board.
Understood, I understand what you're
They have
saying.
no legal authority to change property lines. So I think that the fact that she's concerned about the lots not existing, I mean, if you want to make that a condition of the approval that.
I don't think we have to spend a lot of time. I have no doubt that you reference the plat and we'll see it.
So and if I may, Pete, I think there's two issues if I'm hearing correctly.
You know, we don't
One
want
is the process.
You know, we don't, it's a two-step process.
Yes.
Tonight is just the first step. right?
Okay, first step. And
So
so,
we can look at it later and you'll see,
Correct.
you'll see, I have no doubt you'll see the plat and see the confirmation.
I have a question though for council. Is it my understanding that because flag lots have been an issue with the town and R1, and that if we were to approve this, you believe that we have, I hate to use the term hardship, but that we should give a reason for us to approve that, and based on, let's just say, access to the property or whatever. Is that a correct understanding?
So, yes, if you're going to approve, and we're not, of course, this is a preliminary hearing, but if you were to approve this subdivision, and you do have to approve it, this is not a recommendation, this is something that the planning commission has to approve in order for Brian to have the authority to sign the subdivision plat, that, that if you agree to a flag lot without having a very specific reason that is unique to this property, you are setting yourself up for future people in the same situation to come to you and say, well, you did it over here on 33 Burley, and we're no different than that, so you have to grant it to us, because you're being arbitrary and capricious and not doing so. So you're creating a precedent that you may not want to create, unless there's a really good reason that nobody else, but that very few people can meet.
Well, I'll comment.
I was saying, your contention is that when these lots were purchased or created back in the day, there was access to these roads, which unfortunately Berlin or whoever has not maintained, which has reduced your ability to build these lots. Is that the argument basically you guys be putting forward?
That coupled with the fact that we already have 3 existing deeded lots fronting on Burley Street. And we're not asking you to create any more lots that front on Burley Street. We're asking for a reconfiguration because of that ditch that existing easement creates to put a building envelope in the back. And so it's, that's a further explanation of why we're here.
Well, I'd say that's your specific reason you're looking for dirt.
Do we need that for the preliminary?
What is the front footage for R1 district?
I would just mention
There is no requirement for our town code what it has to be.
the width requirement is 80.
Yeah, 80.
You gotta have a certain amount of road frontage for
No.
buildable lot.
No, it does not.
For road frontage?
Yeah.
No.
That's what it's not a historic district. You
Right.
have flag lots in Berlin.
And also your
Was the
lots are real narrow.
was the easement in place when you guys, the 30-foot easement, when you guys purchased the property?
Yes.
Yes, the 30-foot easement, town easement.
Was there.
Was there.
Was there,
When you
that's
purchased
not-
it.
See, what's actually prompted the owners to start this whole process is they wanted to, and they still do, they want to build a garage immediately to the, you're standing in the street looking at their house to the left. So they said, well, we'll remove a property line. So I said, so that garage is what actually prompted the reconfiguration, as well as the other intent to keep the amount of lots that are fronting on Burley Street.
Are you saying there's no road frontage requirement for an R2 buildable lot?
No.
So you're telling me that anybody, as long as they got a little bit of road frontage, they can put a lot if they got room in the back?
Correct.
I've never heard that.
I would like to be able to research that.
Yeah, I've never heard that. There was always like a 50 foot, they changed it 1 year, but it was always, you always had to have a minimum road frontage on certain R1 and R2 R2 lots and even R3 lots before it was a buildable lot. That doesn't even make sense to me what you're saying. I mean, it doesn't have to be road frontage. You're a surveyor, you've been here, you've done Berlin.
I thought that this was compliant. I met with the
Yeah,
staff.
I mean,
They said it's
there is a
compliant.
minimum road frontage for different zones on a buildable lot on the street. Ever since I've been here, it's been that way. I don't have them in my head.
Anything our code?
I mean, this is a pretty unique situation with regard to the existing lots and such, and we're trying to.
It specifies what the minimum lot width has to be, but not street frontage.
But now what?
Street
Not street
frontage.
frontage, just minimum lot width. Which he's complying with, because he would have the width. Doesn't have to be on the street.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, you know, this commission up here doesn't, flag lots are a tough sell.
Right.
But I think what you're showing is that you have the 6 lots, you have unbuildable areas because of removal of the road, and basically you're looking for help, or whatever the proper term would be, from us to accommodate that.
That's correct.
Just to be clear, I pulled up the plat as reference. It's, plat was dated 1925. I don't know where that other plat number, I don't think this is the right plat reference, to be honest.
Would it be also fair to say that they are reducing density?
Yeah. Build area.
That's right.
Any comments from down there?
What did you say, so that you want to build, the garage is,
She has plans for a small garage. Where the existing driveway is now, it goes straight on back into a garage, so we would have to move the property line over a few feet to create a setback for that. And that's what sort of prompted this whole thing. And she was hoping she could start construction on the garage while we were going under review of this, but we had not had any positive feedback on that request.
the garage would go on lot.
Well, it'll be a garage, and on this configuration, the garage would still end up on 7A. That's why we're moving that existing property line over
Just a little bit.
to the left, just so we can allow the construction of a small garage there.
That's not shown on.
That's not shown now.
Yeah, but the pool would be new.
The pool's there.
The event's there, that was approved.
Everything that's on that plan is
Yeah.
I didn't want to have an issue. I mean, I was showing you, so you speak in the future.
Mr. Crosby?
Yes.
Looking at that back where that street used to be, you and I are very familiar that if they abandon the street, that it goes to the contiguous owners, and that's where I'm thinking, that's where they got that half strip, they closed that street down at some point.
Makes
Where-
sense.
And that's where it went to each of the owners, and I guess now Berlin was the owner on the other side of the park, so they ended up with it. I'm not concerned about the existing lots. I am, just to let you know, Mr. Lynch is, I've worked with him for years, and he's been an expert witness, et cetera. I trust him implicitly. He says that it's a
Absolutely.
platted lot.
Well,
It's a platted lot.
Absolutely.
It's a
We
platted lot.
don't need to talk about that.
Okay, that's what I say, it's a lot. We know there's 3 lots there, I just want to make sure we're all keen on that. I personally believe that there is sufficient to meet what our council is recommending so that we don't run into precedents for other lots, that there would have to be a special reason or hardship or whatever. And under this circumstance, those 3 existing lots lost their street frontage whenever that street was abandoned or whatever. Yes, they picked up whatever, 10, 15 feet, whatever it is, on the back of their property, but that did not give them access to a public road. And as a result, I find it would be very hard to develop this without having an easement, which is something that the property owner is giving up on their lots that front on Burley Street. And I think what Austin's saying also, it looks to me too, that we are cutting density from 5 lots to down to 2. Am I correct?
6
to 3, but yes.
6 to 3, okay. Yeah, total, if you count the 7A, also count, not count 7A. But, so, in my opinion, I would move for preliminary approval, not, and this stage, based on there is a special condition to this property of that street being closed and then losing that frontage.
You're calling that a hardship piece?
I would think that's hardship.
I could get along with that, but I would want it explicit in the motion or approval that it's the only reason that was done, and that going forward, people would have to have a pretty good case for some kind of hardship for what we're calling a flag lot.
And let me say this, I also want to include in that it's already a platted 3 lots back there. Okay, it's not like the person bought this big long lot, let's say on Main Street or whatever, now they want to subdivide it and put something in their backyard. Different story. This exists. So as a result of that and losing the public, I think is a hardship.
So is that your motion?
If you can turn that into a motion, our attorneys think we're not doing very well on it.
Can I just ask, did you guys try any different configurations to get
I
there?
don't have any other way to configure
It started with trying to get the garage, because I immediately looked at it, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a note here about the garage, but obviously you could do 80, 80, and then have, instead of like an easement, you could have 50, where that 20 is actually part of 16A, right?
I mean, the only thing that if you're trying to make sure that everybody can only build in the front, then I guess that's what you're trying to think of.
Yeah, I just think it's a weird condition that, with the 30 feet, it's not actually accessible, you know, nor, I don't know, again, that's town easement, you know, and then it's an easement that's actually, the easement is actually forming your panhandle of your flag.
Yeah.
You know, it's a unique condition that,
Well, I mean,
it's not avoidable.
one of the, I guess, better reasons to be in support of this is you're only going to have one point of access for 2 lots. So there's a limited amount of driveways entering onto Burley Street. And that's why we actually pushed the driveway all the way to the west. Create a separation between the 2 entrances for safety.
Do you want to make that motion?
If I may, just interject, I'm sorry. If he needs to come back for final approval, it could be the next hearing, but I would recommend that he resubmit for final approval with the evidence that it is 3 lots and state the hardship, so that it is clear on the record that the facts existed and not just conjecture and representation in a hearing, so that this doesn't become a problem for the planning commission in the future. So the motion, the final approval should be conditioned upon those things being
I disagree with that. Mr. Lynch, when he signs that flat right there.
This exists already. We're not questioning that.
He's a licensed surveyor. He would
Yeah, I wouldn't show a line that existed and didn't exist.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say, once he
and
signed
I
it.
couldn't prove to you, we'd have to have an attorney do a legal opinion
Yeah,
as
you
to
don't-
whether or not
yeah,
those lots still exist. And I think that, is an unwarranted expense on.
So in your opinion, this covers that?
I think covers it. He's got his signature on it. I say right there.
I'll stand behind Mr. Lynch.
Tim, do you want to regurgitate the whole?
I'll try to do it again. Okay.
There you go.
I'm going to make a motion that we preliminarily approve the subdivision as shown, which includes the easement or quote-unquote flag lot, based on the following hardship conditions. 1, there existed 3 existing lots that he's reconfiguring, and 2, that those 3 lots originally fronted on a public roadway that at some point got closed, and so there are no access without doing this flag lot to that, and therefore I do believe that it creates a hardship for the owner in regard to development of those 3 lots. And therefore, I move that we preliminarily approve it based on those hardships.
I would like to add to the motion, if I may, Dirk, that we want to express publicly in this recommendation that flag lots are something we look at with hesitation. And in this case, we think there's sufficient justification for a hardship in an unusual circumstance. We have a right-of-way taking away road frontage. We have a road that was taken off the record. And I think that's a reasonable hardship. hardship in this case. Any future case looking at a flag lot, we will look at heavily, and you better have a good reason. Just want that said.
So amended.
We can do that again when we come final.
Can I get it?
Did that,
I'll second.
did that go towards ADUs also, that's black line?
Circle back. We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. I do have one question. We have to come back again. What changes between now and the second hearing?
Emily, can you explain why a second hearing is necessary?
It's just that that's what the code requires. It requires a two-step process, and, you know, the level of detail that was in this preliminary hearing, this was presented more like a final plat rather than a preliminary plat, because the preliminary plats are supposed to have detail, and I can, hold on one second, maybe pull up what I'm talking about. That it's supposed to have, the preliminary plat is supposed to have, it basically conforms with the major streets and all that. That's just what the code requires. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily have an exception for something that's smaller, like you're just adjusting the lot line dimensions. And it's a slippery slope to just say everybody gets to do one plat, because there would be instances where there doesn't meet, there would be a need for that plat.
Well, historically, I would say that that was mainly for commercial developments, for lighting, make sure they put the right, and they had to meet certain conditions. We have put no condition on this approval, have we?
No. Yeah,
So this has been approved with no conditions, and so there's no reason for him to come back. He has no conditions to meet.
Well, but I believe that you have the authority to say that this is a situation that doesn't require two plats.
I'm glad to hear that.
You have that authority, but I would recommend that you explicitly state why you are thinking that you don't need another plat, because you are effectively saying, going forward, that no plat has to be unless there's a reason, that you're basically eliminating your authority to have two reviews, because unless you have a reason for not doing it here, that won't be applicable to every single person coming forward. You're waiving the process that's already set out in the code.
Well, we can always demand a second hearing, and if we have conditions, they have to come back and show that they met the conditions, but other than that, we can deny, if they refuse to come back, then we can deny the approval for the preliminary. I mean, we have control.
This is more about you directing Ryan to give Ryan the authority to start the plat. If you're saying that you do not think that there is a need for a second meeting, I would recommend that you specifically state the reason that you do not think that there needs to be a second meeting. And I would recommend that that reason not be applicable to every single person and party that comes in front of you. If it's just that we didn't put any conditions on there, then every time someone comes, you're only going to have one hearing.
Well, if it meets the approval of the board, then why do they need to come back if we have no conditions that they have to meet and show?
Sometimes people come to us with a plat that's preliminary and doesn't have all the information on it.
well, that's
So
not-
we give no conditions for it.
She's saying that would be
And so,
impressive.
yeah.
If I can interject something.
The preliminary plat was supposed to have topography and all this other
So you're gonna have to come
stuff,
see us
and it
again,
doesn't have it on there. And so basically, then all subdivisions moving forward are gonna be one process, and then you're gonna not have to include all that information. And that's up to the board. I'm just telling you that's the ramification of just saying there's only one approval.
What the lady just stated earlier was that you can delegate the authority for the final plat review to Ryan, instead of coming back to you and wasting your time. Because this, you could state the reason being that this is such a, the situation is totally different than any standard subdivision. This is a reconfiguration of 6 existing lots into 3 lots. You had the original plat showed all the property lines, setbacks, the easements, everything that would be required for a final plat. I guess you could elaborate on the special circumstances that allowed you to delegate authority to Ryan.
I agree with Newt that if they come back for a second meeting, what difference are we gonna be looking at here? That's a waste of everybody's time. They have everything in detail, everything that is needed, and there's no restrictions.
This may
I'm
be a
with Newt.
reason that we need to talk about revising the code to make it clear about what exactly is required, because I think it is confusing.
Well, that's another matter, revising the code then.
Yeah, what was that?
That's another matter, revising the code.
I know, I'm just telling you that this is, the code is, it's very confusing about why it's a two-step process.
Agreed.
She's saying it's easy, but we can waive their second read easily, we just need to be specific about it.
Why?
Let's be specific.
Yeah, just be specific why we're going, just the same way as we approved the flag lot, we had to put why the hardships are. In this one, if we're waiving the second hearing, be specific why we're waiving it.
And then Ryan can just handle it.
That is correct, and that'll be Ryan can, or goes to Ryan. Sorry.
Do we need that in a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion, we waive the requirement of a second hearing due to the fact that it would make no difference in the findings of this hearing. No conditions were imposed upon the applicant to meet or to recheck to see that they were complied with, and we'll leave the second plat review to administrative office to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments from the public?
Can I just stand back here, or you want me to come all the way up?
If you could come up here and introduce
I can
yourself.
do that.
Give us a name. Name and street, please.
Patricia Dukendock, Burley Street. I do happen to live across from my neighbors, my new neighbors. They're bought that property, and I'm thrilled that they're there. They're lovely people. I did not know that we had a subdivision on Burley Street. I did not see any written papers when we were going to all approve of that. I did not know that it was a subdivision. When the paper street, Commodore Street, it never was a street. It was an idea. Just like, I believe it was Stephen Decatur Street that's down that ditch that goes from the tennis courts all the way down to Bottle Branch, that, that is a street. And Commodore Street, I believe, used to go all the way up to, all the way up to right behind Main Street, where they all come together, where the little drainage ditch is around the park. So that was Commodore Street. It was never put in. It was an idea that Berlin decided they didn't want to have, just like this Stephen Decatur Road or whatever it was that used to go to Burley Street. That was a paper street, did not ever exist. Now, I do recall when the people who owned, I think it was John Collins, was it Collins? I don't know what his last name was. But he owned that property, and he got the blessing to incorporate several of these easements into his property, which was generous from the town. I wish I could get a deal like that. I did not ever see that a subdivision had been put in Burley Street. And if you could get that date for me when that subdivision happened, I just can't believe I missed that. Because subdivisions have never been allowed on Burley Street, even with what you call, those lots. Everybody on Burley Street has a front lot and a huge long back lot. And that's just the nature of the street that you were mentioning. That's how it has always been done. I just went through a lovely update on my property. If I could have built something behind me, because there's a little road that could come up back there too. I would have built a second house so that my children could live there, because I would have loved to have that. They wouldn't have had the burden of trying to live in Berlin and all of that. I'm just very confused at how these rules can be applied in one way, claim the hardship. I know that the man who sold them may have told them that they could do it, but he had tried to put a subdivision in before, and we, as a street, came and did not approve of that. We said we prefer not to have a subdivision on our street. That was, gosh, years and years ago. You can ask the DeGroffs about it. They've been there the longest. I have been there 30 years. We have had some people have done some unusual things with their property. I'm thinking of the Jester's property in particular. We didn't particularly care for that. I didn't approve any of it, but they had it, it existed. I don't see how something that was done perhaps without approval, I don't know, can be applied to other properties. This changes the nature of our neighborhood.
Well, the good news is it's, instead of 6 lots, it's going to be 3. That's the good news. You can call Mr. Lynch and he can produce a plan. He's got a reference to a plan.
I understand what you're saying, but the idea that Commodore Street, I mean, how long has Commodore Street been gone? How long has the park been in? Since the 70s? Commodore Street wasn't there then. And, you know, so I don't know how anybody could imagine that that was ever going to be accessed. And I see what you're saying. I'm just commenting on my confusion. And I would like to know when it did turn into a subdivision, which is, we're not allowed to do that in our street. My neighbor would love to put a grandmother house behind her so that her kids can move in. I mean, everybody wants to do that.
Well, hang on, because the possibility's coming.
Well, thank you very much, but that's really going to change Berlin.
That's right, and that'd be the worst thing that ever happened to Berlin. That's right. Thank you.
That's a little sarcastic.
No, it's not. I'm in earnest.
Okay. I think we've got a winning combination here.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming up and speaking.
And we got royalty up here now.
Stop. Yes. Maybe get one they have them set up. You guys have, yeah, they have them. Okay. I hear you say something. There's extra stuff. Had to do something. Hi guys, folks, good evening, how are you? I certainly and really appreciate you all giving us this opportunity tonight to present on a conceptual, non-binding, not preliminary, and not final discussion tonight. It's been a long road to get to this point tonight, and we're looking forward to coming back for preliminary and final at some future date. With me tonight, I have Brock Parker from Parker Associates. He's our civil engineer. Sarah and Scott from Design Solutions. Mark Cropper, who you probably already know, who has represented us along the way, and my lovely wife, Sandy. So, with all that said tonight, we would like to have I look at it as a person who sits on that side of the table for Salisbury, Wycomico, and also Ocean City. I think this is an opportunity that we would like, as commission members, to early in the game provide comments. And to put it in kind of blunt terms, a hell yes, a hell no, or somewhere in between. So with those said, you guys may be familiar with the project. This is the former Tyson plant and the former Hudson Foods plant on Old Ocean City Road, Forgotten 50. We have been successful with the town to have a land disposition agreement with the intent of purchasing this and redeveloping this property. I mentioned earlier, we've been 5 years in this process to get to tonight. And so what I would like to begin with tonight is begin with the descriptions of, and I think Sarah or Scott will go with that, the descriptions of the renovations of the 2 existing buildings that you see on site. Now, my inspiration on this is a project that we did on a 200,000 square foot building in Easton, which was called Cadmus Printing, and now it's home of the University of Maryland Medical Systems and the Talbot County Health Department, and a couple other medical offices. So if you have the chance to go to Idlewild Drive in Easton, you can kind of see what this looks like in a redevelopment form. So, and having constructed the building in multiple phases over the years as Gillis Builders, Gillis Gilbertson, we're very familiar with the building and the structural integrity of it. So Sarah or Scott, can you describe what we're doing on the outsides of these buildings?
Sure. So as you're all aware, the building used to be one large building, and the section of parking that you see in the center was the portion that was removed a few years back, I think.
Yes.
The building in the back is currently slated to be medical offices, and the section along Old Ocean City Boulevard is slated to be some kind of commercial use. It could be restaurants or some other kind of commercial function. Really don't have that nailed down yet. And the idea is to make the exterior of both buildings somewhat similar to the buildings that Palmer has developed as you're coming in on Main Street from Route 50, the medical complex there with brick, some drive-it, some features that kind of pick on some of the architectural vocabulary of downtown Berlin also. Sarah, if you've got anything else to add?
Yeah, I can speak to just some of the exterior commercial space. I think this lends itself to a variety of opportunities for different tenants. We had looked at creating some spaces with large garage-style doors for perhaps a patio or a terrace. Right now, we're looking at some nice green space in front. Got this kind of looking a little bit more lush right now. That streetscape is a little industrial looking, so soften that up a little bit and tie in some more modern elements with some of the awnings and the storefront windows, but then keep in touch with the traditional brick and stucco here. So we've got multiple entrances to this building. We've got kind of the main one here off of Old Ocean City, and then of course your parking here, and then other kind of flagship entrances positioned on each side of the structure. So the intent could be perhaps to have a colonnade and running down the center where it could act like an arcade essentially, and then you would have all of your tenant spaces, food courts, or whoever ends up using the space can be located essentially in these spaces here. One thing that we struggled a little bit with is just the elevations on the site and elevations of the existing building. And so what we have tried to solve on this site is leveling everything out, making everything accessible. Right now, we've got like a 3-foot height difference between these floors and the road. So we've got some work with the grading and just making all of that conform to the site.
So I'd like to just add, because there was a lot of confusion when we used the word arcade in prior discussions. Arcade is not machines and games. It's a term that's used to represent a hallway. So when you use the term arcade, please don't be thinking about Ocean City Boardwalk or whatever. It's not games inside there. It's just a walkway, a corridor, if you will. So anyway, I'm sorry.
It's an important distinction. Thank you.
Correct.
As long as you're not processing chicken. We got rid of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got rid of that a long time ago. Steak and fence.
I was just gonna ask if you could clarify, because I think one of you hinted at it, the use of what's there existing is what's determining like these buildings, like what's been demolished currently is the gap between these two buildings, and you're using the pad or what's existing for the footprint of these two front, all these buildings, or?
Right, let me try to jump in on that. The two buildings you see on the site plan, Sarah will point to them. Those are the two existing buildings. And I refer to our project in Easton as a loaf of bread. We took the heel off, kept some slices, took some slices out, and kept the rest of the loaf. So in this particular case, the center harbor that's there represented what has already been removed and was actually, if you want to rewind 15 or 20 years ago, that was a section of the Tyson plant that was scheduled to be rebuilt. There's actually some columns that were going to be tied into to actually rebuild that roof system, but it never got around to that. So those have been removed. There was also a building on the railroad track side which was a receiving live haul part of the building, and that has been also removed. So this represents on these two buildings what remains there today. They are all structurally in awesome shape. They're all precast 24-inch double T's. They're awesome, very industrial buildings.
And the third building will be newly built. That's not there.
Okay,
right
so
now, it's just-
let me get into the third building if I may. The third building, since we've been under contract, we've had some activity on this. That third building that you're seeing, you'll see a picture of a daycare center called Child Education Center, which is called KinderCare. We are throwing that in as a placeholder. We will have to come back to you guys for final approval on that, of course. We have the client that's in building number 2, and also, which is not Title Health, but also Title Health is locating 4 daycare education facilities for their employees. So this won't be open to the public per se. It'll be open for private use only. In other words, for 1 or 2 specific employers.
That's building 3.
That's building 3. Building 4, which you're seeing on there, represents what we're going to call, I hate to use the word pole barn, but it's very similar. We're modeling off of a garden landscaping center. How sweet it is in Eden, if you have been there. And we have shown on that a conceptual yard. So this is the overall master plan. There's a little building that's existing on there.
Is building 4 in the bottom left? That rectangle?
Building number 4 is here, correct?
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, and then this is we're calling this building 5. This is the existing building. We're going to make that the office, renovated extensively, office and for retail for the garden center. That's related to the garden center. One thing that might be important to consider is and Brock, I'm going to ask you to discuss, if you would, the property lines.
Sure. Obviously, this is an older project that was platted several times before we got in here. I think our original contemplation here was 9.35 acres. When we have kind of ran the boundaries around, we went out to where a theoretical property line was established. I don't know where that came from, but we found some stakes out in the field. It was about 2 acres shy of what it should have been. So as we move forward through the process, we have to reconcile where that acreage is. We have the road, the city street that's being dedicated off of the main drag coming down to serve the future city park, the skate park, and the public works department there. But where we strike that lot line, I don't know if you have this in your packet, but this.
Well, here's some copies here. There's 7. So there's not 7 of that size. You might have to give them that one. You might have to share one of them. I apologize. It should have been 7 and 6 there. So what this is showing is the different variations of what we're seeing as the survey for the 9.35 acres. We do not want to be part of the lagoon, and we do not want to be interrupting the walkway. So there's, may I see that for a second? You'll see on that drawing a red line, a purple line, and a blue line. The blue line is, we're not quite sure where that came from. The town had hired Davis Bone Friedel over a year ago, a couple of years ago, and we confirmed this with DBF in the last few days to represent a hypothetical property line. Nobody really knows who directed that as far as putting that hypothetical property line on there. That is not part, this has not been re-subdivided at this point. So the north red line is actually the property line, but we believe that we want to reduce the property to allow for the pedestrian way, the pedestrian walkway, and access to ramp up to that walkway. So there's got to be some negotiations with the town on that property line. Was there any more questions on the property line?
The line you're talking about, Palmer, is right here.
There's the red line at the north. You'll see it interrupting the lagoon.
Yeah.
There's a purple line, I don't know how the color shows on that, right in the middle, which we think is a good hypothetical line. And then a blue line, which is represented on these drawings that you have in front of us. We took the most conservative, worst case scenario to make sure that everything fits that we would like to do on this property.
And what do you?
Yes, one more thing. In our disposition agreement with the town, there's a minimum 75-foot setback from whatever that rear property line is. This building number 4 is exactly 75 feet from that hypothetical property line. So we've maintained that direction.
That would be the garden center?
Yes. Yep.
So from the pink property lines?
No, from the blue property line. We took the worst case scenario, which is the blue property line.
Yeah, the solid red line that goes into the lagoon, that is the extent of the current parcel designation, parcel 57, that
Right.
we are.
That's the real property line, the red. We just threw in this purple line to do a hypothetical, which will keep the town's lagoon intact and keep the walkways and ramp up and the public walkway around the park. Any more questions on that?
So what's the pink line then again?
The pink line is a hypothetical line from us. This has got to be from Emily and ourselves.
Working with the town, just swapping some property.
But I mean, if we got that property, that would change the concept.
Well, not really, because that would be actually an extension of the garden center. There wouldn't be any more structures on there. It'd be an extension of the garden center, basically. But we have some great ideas for the garden center and incorporating that tank that's there architecturally, aesthetically. But I did want to add a couple more things on the site plan, if I may. Brock, do you have any other comments you want to make? No? Okay. So on the site plan, we have done the state highway required traffic study. That is complete. That was completed in May of 25. We have comments back from state highway, and we have approval on these 2 entrances that we are showing on the drawings. This easterly entrance, which is next to Croppers, contemplates the removal of the no man's land right away and incorporating the new public access road to the back. We don't think that the town's going to be able to construct this access road in time for us for occupancy. So we have permission from State Highway Administration to have a temporary entrance on Ocean City Road on the east parking lot here. So we have approval from them to do that. Another thing we might want to add if you're physically going out to the site on the railroad track side, if you're standing on Ocean City Road, obviously there's this inconvenient thing called a code, which requires parking. And to meet the parking requirements for our uses, we're going to have to add more parking spaces. So if you're looking at this building, the front building here, we are reducing that building, moving the westerly building edge. We're moving it easterly approximately 50 feet So I'm not sure if on this drawing, you don't have a dotted line, but we're moving it approximately, let's see, 35 feet so that we can create 2 rows, double-loaded parking here. So that this building on the lower part of the building will actually be reduced in size, more demolition, if you will.
What's that single lane just to the west there? Does that go back there? Is that-
Sorry?
This road right here, to the west? Does that lead to? That's Charles, that's the railroad right now?
It's the railroad. It's the railroad.
I think there's a rails to trails, not.
Is that part of that?
Well, it's not, I think the railroad track has to stay, because I think it's the Maryland-Delaware Railroad line, but I think there's a plan by the town to create a bike pedestrian way to connect to downtown. Well, we've provided room for that in the scheme.
Gosh, that's.
Will you have any area between what you're just talking about, Palmer, and this parking that could have landscaping or something, so it's not just a parking lot right up on the...
Are you referring to this line?
Yeah.
It looks like to me there's like a 2.5 foot.
It's close, we have a couple of feet.
It's tight. Admittedly, it's tight.
Yeah.
But that's also the railroad track side, and there'll be the amenity. Hopefully, we're definitely in support of that, of the conversion or the addition of the town to a pedestrian way.
Is this still industrial zoning, or are you going to down zone?
You all have changed the zoning from residential to commercial. So it is now officially commercial. If you recall, somewhere along the line, there was some restriction by the state that you couldn't even put residential on there, which kind of created some confusion in the process because there was a lot of desire for us to develop residential. I don't particularly do residential, and we were trying to push back on that. As it turns out, you weren't allowed to do residential anyway. Did I say that right, Mark?
You did.
Okay, thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Okay, all right. You want to hire me?
They don't have to listen to me.
They'll probably listen to Sandy better, but anyway. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot in the air view of this. We're pretty excited about this. We have a strong plan for the second building. If the KinderCare goes, that will be an unbelievable amenity for this town. We think that this town has put up with this blight for quite a long time, and we'd like to make it a shining star for the community. This will represent new jobs, new tax base, new economic development, and I think a lot of energy for the town. And I also want to add that we're, as a downtown fan and advocate, Dirk, as you probably know, we would be very sensitive to whatever users go in there that is not competing with downtown. We're really, really sensitive to that. Just wanting to add that in there. As we've said at some of the mayor and city council meetings, our goals here are we want to do something great for the town. We don't want to lose money. And our third objective is to make a profit. So that's our priorities in order of this. As I think you can probably tell the amount of time we've invested into this over the last 5 years, it is a part of the mission of love to wanting and goals to redevelop this property.
I want to add that the medical office, that is highly probable that will happen, as well as if we get the KinderCare. These are basically 9 to 5 or 7 to 6. They're weekdays, closed evenings, closed on weekends. So whatever we end up putting in the front building, whether that's professional offices or it's very unknown right now, there'll be plenty of parking because they can kind of rotate out the parking.
We've exceeded the code in what we've represented here tonight.
From the parking.
Sorry?
From a parking.
From the parking standpoint, yes. Since there's such an enormous amount of expensive professionals here in front of us tonight, we're trying to get, again, a hell no, a hell yes, or somewhere in between, so that we can cut loose Parker's office on the enormous task of stormwater management. We understand the process with the town's engineers. Is it EA Associates? Okay. We are wanting to submit to them, and we understand that process may take 1 to as much as 3 months to get the first comments back from them on stormwater management. But we don't want to go design a site that this commission is going to be really not in favor of or not wanting to proceed with. We think this is a great project for the town. I might also add, if there's a little bit of uncomfortableness with my being a little bit aggressive on wanting to be here tonight, it's because we have a client in building number 2 that has a really critical timeline. And we want, it's a repeat client, and it's a repeat client because I've always stuck to what I've said I'm going to do. And I'm trying desperately to get keys in the door on that building. And I'm open for any questions.
Building 2 medical or child care?
Sorry?
Building 2 is medical?
Yes.
Building 2 is a professional, I wouldn't call it medical per se, but yes, medical. The healthcare provider is a medical provider. Chesapeake Health is who the option is, or who the tenant might be.
I didn't quite follow you. You're talking about having to compress these buildings that we're looking at tonight to get more parking, is that right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Did I hear that you need to compress these buildings?
Yes.
Make them smaller to get more parking?
Yes, this
on the west
building,
side?
the building on the front, if you're standing on Old Ocean City Road and looking at the left side of that building, it's going to come in about 35 to 40 feet parallel to the railroad tracks. So this line that you're seeing right here represents a new line because the building is actually somewhere in this drive aisle.
Oh, so what I'm looking at here is what we're going to be looking at. That's what I'm
Yes.
driving at.
You will be looking at, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we have demolition, select demolition to do.
So you said that you're real tight on that west side of the building. Will you be able to get trees to soften the building over there up to the building, or is it going to be?
We will have landscaping islands, as we've shown.
Mm-hmm.
We think it's a minimum of 2.5 foot. There's some items we have to work with the Maryland Delaware Railroad. There's some items that we have to work with to get as much. I'm a fan of landscaping. We also want to be able to communicate pedestrian and bicycle with this potential trail. So there's some things to work out with the town there. We don't know what that is yet because we haven't gotten to that point. But I'm a fan of landscaping, and I don't know that we'll have it quite as much as was shown on these drawings here. But
That's why I'm asking the question.
Right.
You know I'm a fan of brick.
Right, and I think these elevations here reflect a brick.
So you are looking for brick?
Can you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Not yellow brick?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the brick, if it is brick, then that, in my mind, lessens the landscaping need because it's attractive in
Right.
itself.
Now, I'm a fan of brick. We did in the Easton project. I encourage you all to look at it. We had a combination of EFIS, exterior foam insulation systems, and brick. But this will read as if it's brick.
Yeah, but when we see brick.
Oh, no, if there's any introduction of another substance, it'll read as if it's brick. In other words, there's minor components of EFIS or what have you.
Also, on that back property line, I'll just throw this out, that I like the new blue line, not the pink line or purple, whatever it is. Somebody should have used yellow there in that middle line, but in any event.
Well, we have a contract with the city for 9.35 acres. That blue line represents a reduction of that.
I understand, I got it.
By 27%.
I got it, and I'm saying, I like the look of that line for what's going on here. Not the purple line, but that line.
Well, okay, with that said, I understand what you're saying, and thanks for I'm encouraging everybody to comment on this. Whatever happens in that area would be related to the garden center. So if it's something happening there, I can assure you that it will be better looking than what the city will provide as wiregrass.
Well, hopefully we'll do better in the future as we get our feet on the ground, but
Right.
I like having that larger staging area going up the hill there.
I think if you paste it off, and I'll be glad to meet you on the site if you paste it off, you would see that that's a substantial amount of difference between the blue line and the red line. but we also have the appraisal and also the.
No, I agree with that. I'm
Okay.
just justifying, I like your new proposed blue line.
We're not proposing the blue line. That's not
Oh,
our
you're
line.
not?
This is not our
We're
line.
saying that's definitely not.
We're saying that's definitely not our line.
So you
We're saying
want-
we're proposing the purple line, which is somewhere,
I didn't-
and that preserves the park. It preserves the pedestrian way and all the amenities that the town has put in that park. It's a compromise. But again, that's undetermined at this point because nobody knows from the town's engineer side who created that blue line. Nobody knows, but it's not a part of parcel 57. Parcel 57 legally goes back into the middle of that first lagoon. But if you walk it, it's substantial.
I'm well familiar with it.
You walk it, right. And so again, that would be part of the garden center, and it would be open space, and I think you would find that to be more attractive than Wiregrass.
It would be open space for public to go through.
Well, yeah, we would preserve, if you look at the way that the pathways run, we would, and again, with the access road and the parking the town's providing, the access is for pedestrians is going to be on the east side of our property. So it won't interfere, whether it's the red line, or the purple line, or the blue line, it's not going to interfere with the relocated access walkway that the town's going to provide. If you remember, the town is going to put the skate park here and the public works facility. So it'll be kind of an industrial setting to begin with, if you will. I want the public works facility next to us. But that being said, this parcel to the east of our parcel is slated for the town's public works facility, which will be their yard and their building, as well as the skate park. So, but the access to the park will not be as it is now. It'll be, this line that you see here is the current way. It's going to be redirected to where the town puts the parking for the Heron Park. So I'm here tonight, we are here tonight to listen to any other comments that we have as far as our first concept on this project.
I have a question for you, Brock, and this is just more out of curiosity. Is there any additional constraints for stormwater due to the previous use of this property?
As I understand, the property has received, it's all clear with respect to any environmental cleanup or any of those issues. With regards to stormwater management, with the site being predominantly impervious now with zero management, the challenge here for the site is more so the elevation differences, where you have the loading dock height, building finished floors, and the need to get ADA into the properties. But with regards to actually providing the Maryland State required amount of stormwater management, right now I'm at 3 bioretentions and 2 bioswales. So it's a redevelopment site, so redevelopment requirements are a little bit less, but I think we're capturing a much larger percentage of the site, obviously, than what's being captured now. So I think probably 0% of the site is being treated with stormwater. At the end of the day, we're probably close to 30 or 40% of the site being treated, plus an overall reduction in impervious surface.
And then one other comment, how we keep referencing the possibility of this bike trail. I'm going to take a note from another planning commission I know. Could we see some bike racks?
Oh, I love bike racks. Yes. Yep.
Especially if you're gonna have
We get upset when
professionals.
we pull up on our bikes and there's no bike racks, honestly.
Yep, biking to work if you have professionals.
I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry.
Biking to work, yep.
Oh, yeah. Listen, the daycare center, when we're meeting on site with the folks from Chesapeake Health, some of the representatives there are saying, this will be a great thing. Every employee's going to want to be here because of the daycare facility. And it has the added amenity of being in the open space of the, where the public park is.
I think the most important part of this development is what happens like along the streetscape. And, I think we hinted on it a little bit. And, we saw a project come before us a couple of months ago, just across the railroad tracks that was proposing, an activation of the streetscape. We've seen some development along that corridor in the last couple of years, with the distillery and things like that. And I know we also have a comprehensive plan update coming up, which I'm sure that'll be a corridor that we highlight extensively in terms of, thinking about how it gets developed. So, I know this is conceptual on the design, so it's got a long way to go, but I think that is going to be really important to us. It's going to be really important to me how that streetscape, that first, basically your front yard gets developed relative to, you know, what we hope will be eventually a sidewalk going down there, you know, where people can bike and whatever is in that front building, you know, is accessible from a bikeability standpoint, walkability, you know, it's not just people inside the building, you know, people eating outside, you know, patio space, and I that patio space maybe for employees in the back buildings and stuff like that. But just the streetscape on Old Ocean City Boulevard is, you know, it's going to be a crazy time with a lot of development going along that street, as you obviously well know. And, you know, we're going to have comments on it, I think. You know, a lot of stuff is going to be happening on this at the same time. And, you know, I will appreciate in advance, you know, you guys thinking about that.
Do you see, I mean, you can tell by the drawings here, we have an extensive amount of landscaping and green space in the front. I mean, it's significant.
Yeah.
Are you thinking that's too much, too little, or, and we're also putting emphasis on the front of the building, and you may not be able to see this from this drawing, but conceptually the town has agreed to an 8-foot sidewalk on the west side of the new access road and curb on the east side. And the reason for that, obviously, is to have a nice promenade walkway to get to the skate park and to the back. And that will be heavily landscaped. On the east side, where it ties into the future public works, we're trying to de-emphasize that. We also have struck an agreement with the Croppers, where we're going to cosmetically fix up their property, which means screening, cleaning up some of the, I hate to use the word trash, Chris will probably get upset with me when I say that, but he says it too. So there's a whole general cleanup with the Cropper property that will really change the optics of this area. Yeah, the fencing will be relocated. You'll get some of the road cars that are parking on city property now codified. There's a lot of things going on, but just the Cropper property.
I don't know what the answer is. I know there's a bunch of different ways to approach that streetscape, and you know, I just know that it's going to be a topic of concern because something's going to happen on the adjacent property eventually, and you know, you guys might be the first ones to go, you know, and we're going to inherently going to be thinking about it, you know, from the standpoint of. I think there was a sketch last time you were in front of us that just had a building like more so in the middle of the lot with like parking surrounding it, you know. And then, you know, that would have been contradictory to an adjacent property where the building is pushed towards the front, but like an activated streetscape, you know. Like, I like that this is, you know, maintaining that existing footprint of the front building, and that there is no parking in front of that.
We're removing
That's like
parking.
actually developing a streetscape where there's pedestrians that can go back and forth potentially between two developed properties there, and maybe all along, you know, that corridor eventually.
I'm glad you brought that point up because we're eliminating 4, you could arguably say 5 entrances down to 2. And in that process, we're removing all that parking and all that impervious surface on the front that exists now. You'll see the entrance on the railroad track side, and actually we're losing this entrance over here because we're only accessing off of the new access road, assuming that gets funded and built. Another added benefit out of this thing, one of the comments that the State Highway Administration had on this was they wanted to have a 4-way stop at Main Street and Old Ocean City Road. So in this process, that'll be, I've always believed that needs to be a 4-way stop. It will become a 4-way stop. That's a condition that the State Highway Administration has. So again, we're anxious to hear comments. After this meeting, if you have further comments, we're way open to that. Pete has shared some comments at Orland Main Place, and I'll try to take them into consideration on the final buildings that we did. I agreed with him on that. Anybody else, Dirk, Newt, comments?
It's great, man, just so you're not processing chickens.
No cattle or livestock?
That thing used to stink so bad, man, when the wind was right.
Did the state by chance mention sidewalk on Old Ocean City Road?
We will be having brand new sidewalk on, we have to. I mean, we want to for our project, but you're gonna require me to do it, but we wanna do it anyway. So, yes, it'll be sidewalk continuous, so all the ADA
Try to get
access.
them to extend it out to bring out crossing.
Sidewalks, man.
Good luck.
We're trying.
The state highway, when we began this, with this process, the state highway was flush with COVID money, and the sky was the limit. All we had to do was say pedestrian and bicycle, but that ship has sailed, that's gone. But we missed out on that one. But, anyway, that's our plan, and along the way, we hope to be back here. We don't think we'll be here in March, but we'd like to be here in March, depending on how fast the turnaround. Mr. Parker and EA Associates, March of 2026 comes. Trying to add a year to that. We're talking about contractor developer, but
On the Eastern Shore, that's very important.
I know.
They say Thursday, you need to figure out what month, what Thursday, what year.
so in the meantime, while we're pouring money into these guys' pockets, no, I don't mind that. If you have comments that's going to drastically affect this project, we'd appreciate hearing from you.
Aside from the sidewalk, the brick, the front green landscaping, does anyone else have any other feedback for us so we can take this in the right direction?
The
No
only thing I
chickens?
see is that it looks like there's no real entrance from all Ocean City Road to the front of that building. It looks like you're pushing everybody to the west. Is that correct?
We're trying to keep the parking off the front.
Right.
So there's access to this, if you're referring to access to this building kind of splits in half with the arcade. The east side of the building will be served by parking on the east side.
Okay.
The west side of this will be served by parking on the west side. Again, we're trying to keep the parking off of the street. So they'll have sidewalk access. Dirk, if you can follow, there's a sidewalk along the frontage, the west side of this. There's a sidewalk on the south side. It gets to this grand entrance, if you will, here. There's also access to the north side. So
Is the state requiring you to make any improvements to Route 50, old Route 50?
we haven't gotten to that design yet. Obviously, there's some consideration for XL, decel lanes, and I think we're going to have to work with the city or the town on this access road. So I'm sure there'll be some strings attached in that process.
I would just reiterate on the west side, the landscaping, packing as much as you can over there, soften that blow coming heading east.
Right, got it.
I think it looks great. It'll obviously be nice to have something nice there.
Yes.
Wonderful. Economic impact would be great. Jobs, restaurants.
So do you feel like this is going in the right direction?
Yes.
I do this.
No
No chickens.
changes that you see that we should
It's a hell of a lot better
address
than
now?
what was there.
Hell yes.
That's what we think, but that's our biased opinion. Bob, you have anything else to add? Sarah? do you have
No,
anything else to add?
we're just really open to hearing aesthetically, pushing forward. This was just what we came out with right off the gate, just to see where we wanted to go. So, just getting some positive feedback from that is amazing, and I think we can push this further and just make sure that we've got a really attractive streetscape here to.
This really doesn't have anything to do with the structure of the building or location, but I honestly, personally would love to see the front building be more of a retail than an office commercial.
We
Because if we're doing that,
were pursuing that, Dirk, and we got a lot of pushback from the town council.
Oh, you did?
I don't know, and there was another property owner in Berlin that really pushed back really hard on any type of retail. Our goal here is to make this economically feasible, which the good news here is that the engine is in building 2. It gives us a lot of patience and tolerance and time to pursue what we want to have as the developers in that front building. We want it to be alive and lively. If you want to call me at some future date, I'll share the background story on that. But we got a lot of pushback on retail and destroying downtown. That was major pushback on getting to the point where we are now.
And we are very conscious of not putting in competing businesses.
What about a restaurant?
We
Heartburn about that too?
We have considered in our parking calculations a restaurant.
In building 1?
That was 4,000, 5,000 square feet? One, yeah. And Sarah pointed out earlier, may have been missed, these openings here are established for the possibilities of a fixed storefront or a garage door, glass garage door.
Like open air.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the whole purpose of this symmetry, this geometry, if you will, is that it's set up for the purposes of having that option. It could be offices, which I really don't want to put there, or it could be a restaurant, or have a retail. We don't know, but right at this stage of this project, with the engines that we have to run it, it gives us a lot of flexibility as far as time to get select occupants for building number one. We're real sensitive to that.
I'm somewhat familiar with the background, unspoken background here, but sure looks like a good place for a restaurant all around.
We've calculated that in on the site development on the parking spaces.
I think there's another restaurant on that street.
Can we open that discussion? Council?
It'll be a discussion all around.
When we get done.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're not privy to like all of that, so my speaking about activating that streetscape, because I think the previous project across tracks was proposing retail, but they're not in a contract deal with the town. So my comments about activating that streetscape, we're assuming like retail and restaurant there, if that's a possibility. Obviously, some of us think that should be
We're
more
open
about.
to any of that.
Obviously, we're not agreeing. Can't do something like this.
It was pretty.
We'll just let it go.
Okay, thank you. Mark just told me to shut up.
Let it go for now.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Scott, you have anything else?
No, I appreciate the feedback with that. We'll take it. And thank you for hearing us. Much
Yeah, we
appreciated.
appreciate
All
that.
right. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you all very much. Open ears. So that was the final approval, is that right?
We don't have to come back.
Oh, Ellie's head's spinning over there.
We knew you were sitting in the back of the room.
Well, I think, personally, off the record, I think you all made the recommendation. Not that it didn't matter. I'm sorry.
Are there any other comments from the public? I do.
Sorry. Oh, let me go ahead of us. Sorry about that.
My name's Ron Humphrey, I'm at 9 Gray Street. 52 years of living in this town, I grew up in that neighborhood. I also worked for Brock. I have over 22 years of site plan design, review, and building. I worked for Franklin's back in the day. I worked for Town of Ocean City for almost 20 years as well. I'm Brock's right-hand man, project manager for this, with this project. You guys are in good hands. I have owned this project from the beginning since Brock handed it to me earlier this year. I take great pride in designing this, and you have someone from the neighborhood looking out for this the whole time. So I just want you guys to know that the town's represented well from Brock's office and from Palmer's. So I just want to give you guys a heads up on that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I grew up playing back there as a kid, like you guys know.
Nothing on the pond.
Yeah. The rail trail is actually within the right-of-way of the railroad, not on the property. That showed up on an earlier DBF plan that was given to him when he originally started working on the land. The deed research I did, I spent like almost 6 hours yesterday on the deed research. So lot 57 was incorporated when the town had taken on all 3 parcels when Woody Bunny had done that survey. So I had to go back into the 70s and late 60s and redo the lot just to confirm it's actually 10.3 acres deeded. So there will be some contention there and some, like he said, just some, that's why the 3 lines were shown there, I drew. The blue line that you were in favor of is our limit of disturbance. That's as far as we're going with design. But again, the property line.
Thank you very much.
So you guys will hash it out, and then that's.
Exactly. If you got any more questions, you're in good hands with the town. So.
Thanks, bud. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Any comments from staff? Good.
Thank you, Mr. Lawyer, for all your help.
Anyone up here have any comments?
No.
I just have,
Second.
I just have a general comment about, I know you guys worked super hard and everything like that, but like how close
close to the start of the meeting time, because the information is super helpful.
About this last one?
Well, just in general, like the reports and everything like that, you know, God forbid we have stuff going on.
Well, this was
Friday.
very,
Not
this was today.
this one, no,
Okay.
but even like the reports on the earlier two cases too were great, but like, didn't get them until 4 o'clock.
Oh, and okay.
You know,
I apologize on that. I originally was only looking at, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was originally only asked to participate virtually because I thought Palmer's case was going to be on the agenda. But then when I looked at these other things, I wanted to make sure that we're aware of some of the more background and the legal requirements, because I understand that you guys don't always get guidance on that. And I understand that we still need to have some more dialogue about what guidance you're looking for moving forward. But in the future, I will endeavor to not do this again. It was more of a last minute, like these things seem to need to be addressed, or at least you should be made aware of it. Additionally, I've been working with Ryan and Sharon and trying to figure out ways to make sure that when your decisions are made, it's clear what your decisions are, because we spend a lot of time listening to the previous hearings or reviewing the minutes, and sometimes we're not sure exactly what you approved or didn't approve. And it really creates a lot of problems from a execution standpoint, especially for Ryan. So that was another effort that I was trying to do, but I endeavor not to do that again at the last minute.
No, we appreciate your opinion. We need that. It's just difficult, as you can imagine, coming here and we've got our applicants that are sitting there in the room, and we haven't been able to discuss your opinions and whatever. So, and I don't want to do that in front of the public, but I kind of feel that pressures us into doing that, which I would rather we not have to do.
Would it be possible for us to, I'm going to be in town next week, and to attend the hearing that's tentatively scheduled for the 21st, that maybe we meet in a more closed session before that meeting in person, so that we can kind of talk about some of the issues that maybe not in a public setting.
Is that lawful for us to meet in the, without
session?
In a closed session?
I think we just have to notice that there's going to be a closed door session in the agenda, and that the topic is to just talk about process.
I'll confirm that,
Yeah,
but I
it's
think
like
we should have a
education.
public.
Yeah, no, well, it's getting legal advice. I think that
But not on a
it's like what we were
particular
doing today. We had two different things. One, she wanted to make sure that we gave the hardship part to it. And the other one is that we didn't make this a precedent for the flag lot. And that kind of thing, I would think we should talk before we get out here and start discussing it, so we know kind of where we are. You know what I mean? So I do agree. 21st, that's, your dad's coming back, is that?
He's hopeful.
He's hopeful, yeah, that's, what's your all's druthers, but I mean, does that mean pushing the time back, or does that mean us coming earlier?
I'm just suggesting I'm going to be there. So I just want to let you also know, I actually do have a house in Berlin, so I'm a quasi-local. I'm just not there right now because my mom is very sick, and I'm taking care of her in Tennessee, so I'm not as able to be there in person as I'd like to be. But I do have a stake in the town in the sense that I do own property there. So, and I'd like to be around more.
Where do you live in Berlin? Where do you live in Berlin?
Don't tell them.
You're still alive.
Well, maybe you should.
Don't tell him. Next to ask for your phone number, you gotta watch it. He can't help himself.
I'm gonna leave it down to the end.
Can we close the meeting?
Do it after.
Can we,
Maybe we should take this conversation into an email chain and see if that's something that people are interested in doing, just even for a half an hour, just a quick check-in.
yeah, that's fine. I think in the email, I mean, it's a quick general consensus. If we could do it afterwards, would probably be better, because I know I work till 5.
Yeah.
I sprint to get here. So if it's possible for next week, next Wednesday, to plan on doing a closed session afterwards, just to go over that. And look, we can discuss it in email, but that seems like that can work.
Push it back. We could do a closed session for a half an hour before, and then just have the meeting start at 6. The open meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
That works for me. That would be better for me. That way, if there are legal issues that we're going to address that evening, we will have discussed that legal issue with us, and you can tell us what we can and can't do.
Sure, and I'm here just to provide you guys, I don't want to tell you what to do, this final decision is yours. I just want to make sure you understand the ramifications of your decisions, because I know you haven't had a lot of legal advice.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Aye.
Always so official.
See you all next week.
See you.
Hey, Ryan, I've been waiting for that survey on Old Ocean City.